Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Caleb, and around these parts, I'm known as the Furniture Cowboy. My wife and I have created a business here in Austin, Texas, transforming random pieces of furniture we find into something truly spectacular. We've got a pretty awesome flip for you guys today. In fact, looking at the dresser here, you guys might be thinking, what the heck can he even do to make this dresser look good? But don't fret, we've got some pretty awesome stuff planned for this one. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Right off the bat, we're gonna go ahead and disassemble everything and give it a nice clean. I went ahead and took all of the drawers out, and in the bottom right drawer I found what at first I thought was like the bottom of a pizza box. So I was a little weirded out, but I've now realized that it's a top to like a storage box that you would have in an office. It's the box that, like, if you picture someone being fired and they're carrying all their stuff out, that's the box. Anyway, to clean this piece off, we're using simple green diluted with water, giving everything a nice spray all over, and then using the rough side of a sponge to scrub off any gunk or goo. Ooh, gross. Note to self, don't say goo. So that's all looking good, and we're moving on to step 2, which is scuff sand. So for scuff sanding the body of this piece, I'm just going in with a 220 grit sanding net. This is a product that I feel like a lot of people may not know exists, but it's made by Diablo. I've been loving these things. They last a little bit longer than sanding pads, like the normal sandpaper pads, and I feel like they do a little bit of a better job too. Once everything's nice and scuff sanded, we're moving on to step 3, which is prime. I've noticed that I don't always do the best job of telling you guys what products I'm using, so I'm gonna try to correct that in this video. For priming this piece, I'm using Kills primer. It's the blue can, but not the dark blue can, it's the light blue can. I love this primer. I don't have to water it down or anything, and it smells like fish sticks. So you get a dresser that's ready to be painted, as well as a kick of nostalgia if you ever ate fish sticks as a kid. Now that that's primed, we're going to move on to step 4, which is wood fill. We prefer to wood fill after we've primed because now that that surface is nice and stark white, it's really easy to spot any imperfections or dings. So we're going to quickly go in and fill all those spots with wood filler. For wood filler, we're using DAP wood filler. DAP makes a wood filler that changes color, so it's super easy to tell when it's dry. If you're just getting into furniture flipping, I would definitely recommend that one. But since we've got a little bit of experience under our belt now, in this video, we're just using the standard one that starts brown and dries brown. Since this piece has a lot of curved edges, I went out to the store and picked up a sanding pad. I went out to the store and picked up a little foam squishy sanding pad for our orbital sander, but they only sold a 6-inch pad, so I had to cut it down to 5 inches on the bandsaw. Once all that wood filler is sanded off and we've got a nice smooth surface all over the piece, we're gonna move right on to step 5, spot prime. There's not much to say about this step. We just, went in with some more primer. Once that primer is dry, we move on to step 6, repair. There was a little chunk on the bottom right leg that was coming off, so I just put in some wood filler, or not wood filler. So I just put in some wood glue and clamped that, and we'll let that wood glue dry. It feels like we are flying through this piece. We're already on to step 7, paint. We're gonna be covering the entire body of this piece in the best black paint for furniture, in my opinion, which is Noir by Good Bones. Prior to using this paint, I really liked using Limousine Leather by Behr, which is also a great black, don't get me wrong, but something about Noir from Good Bones it hits different. If you want to give it a try yourself, you can head over to Good Bones website and use code COWBOY to save 15% at checkout. Once everything's painted, we're moving on to step 8, burlap backing. I have a ton of this left over. It's almost like a whiteboard material. I have it left over from another project that we did, and I found that this stuff is a great thing to use if you want to have any type of fabric showing through some sort of hole that you're creating in a drawer front. So here I'm just figuring out what size they need to be and then cutting them all to the same size. With all those created, we're moving on to step 9, cut and attach. This part was pretty easy. We're just rolling out the burlap until it totally covers those pieces that I created, and then grab a pair of scissors and snip, snip, snip. What was really convenient about this part is that the burlap was the perfect width so that I could do 2 of these pieces with no wasted burlap, basically, which is good because we don't like wasting stuff. Once all those pieces were cut, I attached them to the backing board with some 3M adhesive spray just to get them all stuck into place. And next I'm going to go in with some Mod Podge and completely coat each piece of burlap with Mod Podge. I found that this makes them much easier to clean. If you just have raw exposed burlap, it's going to just collect dust and be impossible to clean over time as the dresser sits. But once you Mod Podge it and poly it, it becomes much more cleanable and just creates a much nicer look. I set those out to dry and left the garage for a water break, but as I was leaving the garage, I had my flashlight on and I noticed it was perfect for a little private puppet shadow show. I don't know what you call it. All I could figure out how to create with my hand is a little weird looking dog. Moving on, we've got step 10, measure cutouts. If you don't have yourself a carpenter square, do yourself a favor, go out and get one. It is such a useful tool and it made this part super easy. With that done, we're moving on to step 11, cut out the half rounds. So a lot of you, if you haven't already, are probably having deja vu at this point because we did do a piece very similar to this one not too long ago where we made these kind of oval cutouts on the drawer fronts. We got several comments when we posted that piece saying that you could tell right away that we hand cut the circles, and rather than being stubborn and saying, well, I think they look good, I'm gonna do it my way, I decided, what the hell, let's try this look again and see if we can't get a little bit of a cleaner result. So we went out to the store and I picked up this circle cutting jig for a router, and we're gonna be giving that a shot today. The first thing we had to do was get everything put together, which didn't take long, and then the first step to actually using this thing is to drill a hole that's basically gonna be the center of your circle that you're creating, and then your router is gonna pivot around that point to create your circle. Once that hole was in place, we screwed in the jig, attached a plunge cut bit to the router, and then we started creating those circles. We did several passes with the router just because we didn't want to test its limits or get too crazy with it and mess something up. But those circles are looking pretty dang clean, and I'm really pleased with how these turned out. My only regret at this point would be that there are 9 drawers on this piece, so this took a while. Definitely not for the faint of heart. With all of those circles created, we are moving on to step 12, which is make straight cuts between those 2 circles. Last time we did this, we were kind of freehanding the cuts with the jigsaw, and this time we got a little smarter, put on our thinking caps, and we clamped down a piece of wood to use as a guide so that we could make that cut nice and perfect, or at least as close to perfect as we could get it. Next up is step 13, round over the edges. The router is coming back out for round 2, and we've switched out the plunge bit for a round over bit. We like to use the biggest round over bit that we've got just because I like the way that looks a little bit more. I've also got to give a huge shout out to my wife for holding each drawer while I did this. This would have been pretty impossible by myself. The router that we've got weighs like 50 pounds, so thank you, Lilu. Step 14 is, believe it or not, the step that took the longest time, and that is sanding down the drawers. There's no way getting around this. It just takes a while. You just have to kind of patiently let the sander do the work for you. This part is definitely nicer to watch than it is to do. Step 15 is to remove those drawer liners. Those stinking drawer liners that made this dresser look like it belonged in a children's hospital. I don't know who picked these. No, maybe that's a little harsh, but one thing's for sure, those things gotta go. Once we got those out of there, it's time for step 16, attach the burlap. Thanks to all the work we did on these previously, this part was a breeze. All I had to do was put them into place, and then with the handy dandy Milwaukee pin nailer, which is an amazing little tool, I just nailed them into place. Which leads us to step 17, polyurethane. With everything looking nice and buttery smooth after receiving 3 coats of poly, we're moving on to our final step, which is to create some bangin' legs for this piece. So this piece is actually a commission piece that we're creating for a client, and they wanted this piece to stand a little taller than its natural height. So we're gonna be going in and creating some new legs that we've never tried to create before. This base is gonna have 2 side pieces that are connected along the bottom of the dresser by 2 really long beams. We're creating the whole structure using these 2x6 pieces. We cut everything to length before cutting some angles. We're going ahead and attaching the side pieces together using some pocket holes before giving everything a nice, much softer look with the round over bit. We've already measured out where these are going to attach to the bottom beams, so we're going to go ahead and attach some metal L's, which are going to connect these legs to those beams. Once that's all done, they're ready to be stained, and today we're using a black stain on these, which is something we've never done before, but I absolutely love the way it turned out. We got that base attached, got it rolled over to our staging garage. And just to remind you guys, this is what this dresser looked like before we got started. And this is the final result. Do yourself a favor, pause the video and just look for me at that black paint. Look at the finish. Man, I'm so happy with how this one turned out. As you guys can see, the dresser before we got started was the most boring looking dresser ever, and I'm pretty excited because I feel like this is a look that a lot of people could create. Yes, it's a lot of hard work, but to me, it's definitely worth it. Let me know what you guys think of this piece down below in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell so that you can stay up to date as to when I post videos. You guys rock, and I will see you in our next video. Peace.